one of President Donald Trump's biggest campaign promises was to end the border crisis.
Trump vowed to dramatically slow down the number of illegal crossings and to carry out the largest deportation operation in U.S. history.
On that first front, things are looking good for Trump. Per ABC News, CBP data shows Border Patrol apprehensions for the period between January 21st through the 31st, they dropped 85% compared to the same window last year. There's also been a 93% drop in migrant apprehensions at ports of entry in the 11 days following January 20th.
On the deportation side, however, things don't seem to be going the way the Trump administration wants them to. ICE's daily arrest numbers seem to be dropping. On January 26th, the number reached up to 1,179 arrests. According to DHS data obtained by the Washington Post, in late January, however, there were about 800 arrests per day. For the first 13 days of February, they dropped to less than 600. Now the Trump administration has stopped releasing daily numbers and instead will do so monthly. The Trump administration had given ICE a quota of around 1,200 to 1,500 a day.
Then there's the beef between border czar Tom Homan and New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It all started when Cortez uploaded a webinar to her Facebook page that teaches migrants what their rights are to help them avoid deportation. Homan then said he referred her to the DOJ for investigation to see if that would count as impeding. Here's Homan this week talking about it on Newsmax.
First of all, I think she's, I won't go after her on
Tom, please
TV
do. Please do. Say what's on your mind. It's a holiday.
Look, she's the dumbest congresswoman ever elected to Congress, and she proves that every day. And look, bottom line is, I can't believe any member of Congress, Republican, Democrat, Independent, would want to educate criminal illegal aliens who are in the country illegally, been convicted of a violent crime, and have been ordered removed by an immigration judge after due process at great taxpayer expense. You got a congressman or congresswoman that does not want ICE to do the job that Congress has mandated them to do and funds them to do.
Naturally, AOC responded on X, writing, "This is why you fight these cowards. The moment you stand up to them, they crumble." Homan has nothing. The Fourth Amendment is clear, and I am well within my duties to educate people of their rights. He can threaten me with jail and call me names all he wants. He's got nothing else. CBP also announced that agents won't be using body cameras anymore. CBP's rationale was that since body cams can be tracked, agents can be put at risk. Critics, of course, fear that the lack of body cams can shield bad actors from accountability.
Responding to AOC, television host David Asman wrote on X, "Crumble, ICE and BP agents under Homan's guidance are taking child rapists and other violent criminals off the streets, while you're using intel to alert these scum and endanger law enforcement, one of whom was just killed in Vermont. Easy to spot the cowards in this scenario."
On the other hand, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus wrote, "To know your rights is a measure of good citizenship. Our members promote good citizenship because our constituents, citizens or not, demand it."
Yeah, and look, I actually, in this case, though I'm in the right of center position on the show, I don't have any certainly legal problem with AOC is within her rights to alert immigrants, illegal immigrants, to what their rights are. If you don't like her doing that, you can vote against her in the next election. She can face accountability for that to the people who elect her to Congress. Tom Homan should certainly not pursue any kind of legal action against her. It's free speech. She gets to do that. Also, immigrants have rights. Illegal immigrants have rights. We're a country of law and order and due process. We also don't know exactly who the illegal immigrants are in every case, so we need to afford, full due process and legal rights as we seek to lawfully arrest and then lawfully detain and remove people who should not be here. But we can't just give the government, total license to start rounding people up without respecting people's rights. That would not be very free speech and due process respecting. So I don't, I'm not. Don't put me in the. I don't want to be in the category of law enforcement people saying, "Oh, don't tell people about their rights. Don't do it." No, that's not. I'm not with that at all.
Well, from my left of center seat, I think you won't be surprised to hear that there's not a lot of daylight between us.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that does jump out at me in this exchange, and I feel like increasingly in any exchange with AOC, is the name calling. So again, the word jumped out at me, but that my youngest calls the D word, dumb or dummy. I mean, she throws it around too, so let me just say.
Do you allow that in your household?
We do not. That is why he calls it the D word.
Got to put a penny in the jar. Well, not anymore. We're getting rid of pennies. It'll be a nickel soon.
It'll be a nickel.
Yeah.
Of course, he's 6 years old. But at any rate, I agree with you. I mean, I do think that it is dangerous, however, to paint all undocumented immigrants with the same brush. And I do think that that tends to be part of the argument for folks who are really advocating for deportation. It is as if all undocumented immigrants are criminals somehow, which obviously we know is not the case. And in fact, they don't commit crimes at a higher rate than American citizens do.
And Tom Homan said previously that his goal and Donald Trump's goal is to begin with deportations for people convicted of other crimes, violent crimes. Certainly, we want more done to get those people off our streets and get them out of our country where appropriate. In terms of the body cam thing, so I have generally been a big proponent of law enforcement using body camera footage, and I actually think that can be to the benefit of police as well, because police are sometimes falsely accused of doing things wrong in interactions with citizens or non-citizens. It happens, and then they can acquit themselves if you have body camera footage. Now, I have never heard before this particular beef with body cameras that they can be tracked, and thus it might allow dangerous people to know where the border security are. I didn't know that, so I'm still kind of grappling with that. That might be a valid reason, I guess, in my view, to not then use body cameras, but it strikes me as potentially just an excuse to want to turn off the cameras.
You know what else can be tracked, Robby? Your cell phone.
Yeah.
The other thing can be tracked, your smartwatches. You know, there was that whole famous story about how members of our military were inadvertently showing the location of military bases because they were using smartwatches and tracking their runs. And so it was outlining things. I mean, we live in a society where a lot of the everyday tools that we use to live are actually trackable.
Yeah, we are all so trackable now. It'd be really hard to be a serial killer, I think, in the modern era, because there's so many cameras everywhere, and you have to have a phone, you have to have everything. You can't, this idea of people just getting away with crime sprees forever and never being caught is unthinkable. Right? No, he appears immediately on 18,000 cameras, is tracked down and caught. You just can't have the obscurity or anonymity that you could have before the digital age.
We should have a whole discussion about the good, the bad, and the ugly about being tracked.
I made it sound like that was a bad thing. That's a good thing, that it's harder for serial killers to do their thing. That is definitely a positive. Don't mistake me there.
Truth.
More Rising coming up right after this.